Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk about the RIA regulation, that is the Registered Investment Advisor, as SEBI calls them. And I have also had the privilege of speaking to two people who started this. One started it on the 1st of the month, and by the 31st of the month, by the time when he had to comply with all the regulations, he decided it's not worth it. And another person who ran this RIA for maybe a couple of years, I'm not very sure, and then abandoned it. And third is Debashish Basu, who has written about this. He's not, I don't think he's an investment advisor, but he's a research analyst. He's a SEBI registered RA, which is a research analyst. So the inputs from these three people seem to be, it's a typical over-regulated industry, and the registered investment advisors are supposed to be like your family physician or your family doctor, and they are supposed to know everything about you, right? Well, let's put it this way, the family physician is no longer in existence, right? So when you wanted to, once upon a time when I was younger, we used to go to a family physician who would say, oh, you got pain here, go to a dentist, and this is the dentist you should go to, this is the ENT specialist you should go to. That is how we went. We never chose our own dentist and our own ENT specialist, right? This person would do it for us. Well, today RIA is supposed to do that. He is supposed to know everything about you. He is supposed to talk to you and record everything and keep record for 5 years about what he has spoken to you. You cannot pay him by credit card, so I guess you will have to ask him for a check, or maybe a bank transfer will work, I don't know. And he is supposed to, he or she is supposed to talk to you and keep all records for 5 years, whether it is SMS, WhatsApp, or some other method by which it can be verified by the regulator in his great wisdom if he wants to. Should I say she wants to, whatever suits you. So what is the problem here? The problem is, if you have to create so much of documentation, there's a joke now saying how many people does it require to run an RIA business? Well, 12. One to bring the business, one to do it, and 10 to handle the regulations. So you can't have such an over-regulated business dealing with the end customer who may not want such a full-fledged service, right? Every client or every potential client does not want to sit with you, do his risk profiling and say, I want this, I'm very clear about my goals, and therefore that never happens. It is just that, hello Subra, I've got 15 lakhs, how to invest? Or what do you think of these shares which I have bought in the past? What about these schemes which I have inherited from my uncle? These are the kind of questions. Nobody, believe me, nobody sits down and creates a full financial plan saying, this is my elder daughter, for her education I need so much, I will put it away, and this is my younger son, and for him his education, his marriage, your daughter's marriage, I will put away so much, this is for my pension. This is an ideal situation, right? Not everybody does it. People have broadly, they have an idea, oh, I got this land in Delhi, I'll sell that for my daughter's wedding, or I got this flat in Chennai, I'll sell that for my daughter's MBA if she wants to go abroad, right? So people have that mapped in their head, but that is how fuzzy it is. They don't, they just don't write it down. Can you as an RIA go and want these social changes to happen? Even the regulator can't. So if the regulator thinks that every client will call up nicely and say 4 o'clock appointment, let us sit and discuss, and here is my wife, here is my 14-year-old daughter, she also understands this, why we nominate, that's ideal situation. It doesn't happen. Does not happen at all. In how many instances I get mails saying that I have so much money to invest, where should I invest? Not their age, gender, nothing is mentioned. You can only guess the gender from the name, that's all. Nothing else they mention, and they expect you to reply. I don't reply because I know that replying such things requires an RIA registration, and I don't. I just talk about it on my channel, and I say that I just don't have enough data about you to comment. That is what we do. But somebody who has to sit and do it, imagine if we were to be fully compliant and look after every client's every requirement, he will have to charge a bomb. And if he charges a bomb, the client won't come, and there is a restriction as to number of clients that he or she can handle. So when you put all this together, it is not a business model which will work. I mean, it's a wrong comparison perhaps, but look at just like the fertilizer industry. If the government wants to control everything, which new entrant has come into the fertilizer industry in the last 10, 15, 20 years? None. Tatas have got out, Birlas have got out. Nobody wants to deal with the government. Right, so that is exactly what is going to happen even with the RIA. The RIA will die, and the RIA will not be able to cater to the middle class or the lower, forget lower middle class. Lower middle class cannot anyway afford the RIA fees, simply because the RIA has to survive, right? There are some RIAs who may be charging much lesser, but then one also doubts what kind of infrastructure that person has, what kind of people does he employ, right? So all those, if you have to put all those things in place, I don't think it will work. Also, Debashish Basu says in a scale of 1 to 100, the physician is regulated at 10, and the RIA is they're trying to regulate the RIA at 100. They're trying to say everything that a current RIA knows, or a senior 55-year-old RIA knows, I want to pass that the 25-year-old should also know all that. Let's take a situation that every taxi driver in Bombay should know every road, and this has to be certified by an inspector. Do you think that inspector will ever be short of opportunities to fail the potential candidate? With every road in Bombay having two names, one Sarojini Naidu Road, or Sarojini Naidu may be a newer name, one Warren Hastings Road would have been changed to Sarojini Naidu Road, and we will have no clue that this change has happened, and people will continue to call it WH Road without knowing what it is. Like people say Bombay TT. I don't think people understand what they mean by Bombay TT or Bombay BB. Bombay TT is Bombay tram terminus. Trams have gone away from Bombay long ago, right? But those words will continue, people will continue to understand, those things will happen, but will everybody be able to understand every word of what you say and write it down and implement? They don't need it, they don't want it, they just don't, I mean, they may just want a t-shirt. Why are you trying to stitch a full three-piece suit for them? Saying that you should take into account the risk profiling of the client, suitability of products recommended, and recording the rationale and suitability of every piece of advice provided. My family doctor doesn't do that. When we are talking, he said, I think you should also attend to your knee, you're having some knee problem or something like that. It is not that he's saying right now do something. He's saying maybe you have a problem, maybe you should attend to it. Now all that can be recorded and said, you didn't say properly, otherwise the client would have bought this insurance and etc. blah 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 blah, right? There are so many interpretations possible. So as an RIA, should I even advise my client that he or she needs life insurance? Maybe I should, but that is not covered by SEBI, that is covered by IRDA. So IRDA will say, why did you recommend term insurance and not ULIP? Again, I have to record the rationale. How is it going to even happen, right? And these changes have been made so regularly, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. The best thing is there are people violating it. In fact, in India, every business which is done on a small scale is a arbitrage of taxes or an arbitrage of law. For example, if you take a taxi from Madurai within the airport to go to say Kodaikanal, you will pay 5,250. Let me be very specific, 5,250. You come out or you speak to a driver whom you know and he'll come and pick you up, he'll charge you 3,800. 1,450 is just a tax arbitrage. The guy who is picking you up, taking cash or maybe taking a UPI payment, doesn't matter to him. He is not paying GST and he is paying income tax at a much lower level, if at all. He must be paying tax because he has to fund his Innova and Etios and cars like that, and those come with bank finance, so he must be paying some tax. But he chooses how much tax to pay. With GST, once he starts paying GST, he'll have no choice of how much tax to pay because the GST authorities will know how much he did sell. So this is an arbitrage of tax or an arbitrage of law. That is what every business in India is. it is almost impossible for a small RIA to run a business and be completely compliant and with the rules, that is the cap on how much he can charge, the number of clients whom he can charge. If he puts all that perfectly in place, there is no business model. There is no business model to employ people. There is perhaps place for one person running it, but there is no space for that person to have an assistant whom he can pay a salary, a decent salary. It is just not, there is just not enough margins. And remember, after maintaining all this, you have to get it audited, so your cost is going up there also. And well, there is an NISM exam which you have to pass every 3 years, which is again a case study based one. Well, SEBI may want all this to happen in an ideal situation, but then who told you that regulators can be reasonable, or regulators have to be reasonable? They don't have to be reasonable. You have to make a choice of whether you want to be in this business. Like Tatas and Birlas made a choice that they don't want to be in the fertilizer business. So those who are left in the fertilizer business have not shut down, but no new fresh entrant has come, and these companies cannot create wealth for its shareholders or employees, etc. So it can't attract talent, it can't attract fresh money. So those who are there would be in the process of shutting down, and well, one day we'll import more food. Thank you.